What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of TAETRO Talks. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Another Tuesday. If you don't know, if you're new to the stream, we do TAETRO Talks every Tuesday. And sometimes it's a call-in show like today. Sometimes it's an interview show. And this week, we will be doing another call-in show. I put a tweet out last night, and it seemed like y'all were stoked and interested in doing another call-in show. And next week will be an interview with a great artist that I will talk about later, because we just locked that in, and I'm stoked for it. As you can see, the studio is looking a little bit different, even though it's not quite October yet. We got a couple days to go, but Beattober is about to be upon us. Beattober is a daily beat challenge that I do in October, or I did last year, and I'm continuing this year. Basically, I'll be putting out a daily 1-minute beat video on Instagram every single day in October. So I'm making a new beat every day. It's a challenge. And I'm inviting you all to join in the fun. So you can join me with the daily challenge. Or if you want to do like once a week, once every 2 days, whatever fits best for your schedule. It's supposed to be, whatever it is, it's supposed to be a challenge, pushing you to do more than you normally do. And you can join me on that. All you got to do is post your beats to Instagram, hashtag Beattober. I'm going to be tracking that hashtag all the way. And then I'm going to be there's a big drop coming on Friday, and then every subsequent Friday, I should say, in October, we'll do Control Freak Fridays, where I'll be doing a live stream. I'll be breaking down and arranging some of the beats that I've been making. I'll let you guys kind of vote on your favorite beats throughout the week. And I'll also be showcasing beats from the community. Then I'll have a video dropping on Sunday that recaps all of my beats from that week, and then also showcases the most fire beats from the community. So it's a great way for you to, like, just that 31-day challenge is so much, it drives you forward in terms of your skill set, but it's also like a great way to do something fun in October with the community. I think it's going to be a good time. But if you want more information on that, I posted a video on it this morning. You can get more details. And it also explains our cool set for the month of October, even though it's not quite October. But Beattober, here we come. If you're participating in Beattober, let me know in the chat. But we're here today because of 343 Labs and 343 TV. And 343 TV is, bringing us daily live streaming music production programming on youtube.com/343 Labs, where I'm streaming right now in addition to my channel. So you can catch shows with Ableton tutorials, home studio setup stuff, synthesis and techno, production basics with Abe Duque on Fridays, Theory Thursday on Thursdays with Ableton Certified Trainer Max Wild. There's a cool show every single day. We've also got feedback sessions this Sunday. So if you've been working on music and you want your music critiqued by an Ableton Certified Trainer, make sure you're subscribed over at youtube.com/343 Labs and tune in on Sunday. You can submit your music in the chat, and Atropolis, our Ableton Certified Trainer and also 343 Labs instructor, will be critiquing your music. But I'm stoked that you're all here. And I'm stoked to be here and take some calls today. Some folks are already in line for calls, and I did just post a Zoom link in the chat, or I'm posting it now, that you can use to call in. It's not like you click the link and you're instantly in the call. You get put into a waiting room, and I try to take the calls in the order that they come, one by one. Nobody has to see your face or anything. They will just hear your voice. All right, let me see who's in the chat today, and then we'll get to taking some calls. We did almost a 2-hour show last week. Today is not going to be a 2-hour show, unfortunately. So I'm hoping to get through all the calls, but if I cannot, I apologize, and we'll do a call-in show very soon in the future. But I appreciate you all. Like Amir, who was the first one in my chat, and then Andrew Duke, who was the first one over in the 343 Labs chat, along with John H. Kingston. What's going on from Rockaway Park, New York? Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for being here. Then we've got Patrick Julian Mendoza. What is up, Manuel? Hello. Just Listen, Parrish, Samuel Messiah, Stonks Beats, Trevor Hoffman. My mom is here. Nick Lovin. My dad is here. Who else? Gabu is here. What's up, Gabu? Long time no talk. DJ Gamer is here. Jay Scholes, Jonathan Rodriguez, Ray Calvin. I think I'm not skipping anybody. Curly Soul, John Cozen, Tyra White. What's up? Phoenix is also here. Rishitaha, what's up? What up? Rio, Charles, Gerwald, and I think I did it. And I saw Beisha there somewhere. I don't know how I just missed her in that rundown. Yeah, what's up, Beisha? And Gabriel, another Gabriel over there in the 343 Labs chat. Yeah, so I'm monitoring both chats. If you're not yet, if you're on my channel, you're watching the show, I would really, really appreciate it if you went to youtube.com/343 Labs and gave a sub. And when you do that, jump in that live chat and just let me know, hey, I subbed. We just recently surpassed 5,000 subs on that channel, which is super exciting. And also let me know what you all think of this new setup. I'm kind of stoked for it. And I also got a haircut, and wearing the headphones makes my hair look flat, which I'm struggling with. But let me know what you all think of the new decor. I won't be so vain, I suppose. All right, so we have a bunch of callers waiting, and I think it's time to call in. Basically, I'm looking for questions that you think I can answer. Maybe it's around MIDI controllers. Maybe it's around gear or Ableton Live, but I like more of the motivational questions that have to do with the philosophical side of being a home studio music producer, that kind of stuff. You know, I really like answering those kinds of questions rather than technical stuff, because those bigger questions apply to a lot of us and we can all get advice for those things. Thank you, John Cozen and Blake, for going over to the 343 Labs chat and subbing. I really, really appreciate that. Let me jump in and start taking some calls because you guys are lining up and I want to get right into it. Juan, you are going to be up. Make sure when I am taking your call that you lower the volume of the stream or else it will echo. Juan, welcome to the show. Lexi, this is what I mean. This is what I said. I can hear myself in the background.
Oh, hi, TAETRO. Hey, so my question, I actually recently got an Akai Mini MPK3, just after watching your videos, felt really motivated to actually pursue music production.
I'm stoked for that. Make sure you are listening to the Zoom audio and not the stream audio, because it's going to be very delayed if you are.
So my question is, because I use OBS a lot to live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So my question is, so how would I connect my Akai Mini to actually use it with OBS for live streaming a performance?
So what are you trying to use the Akai MPK Mini for in OBS? Are you just trying to do music live streams? Or are you trying to control OBS with the MPK or something?
So what are you trying to use the Akai MPK Mini for? Are you just trying to do music live streams? Yeah, I just want to do music live streams.
For sure. So, well, first of all, you're going to want to be using a DAW. And also,
I'm just trying to do music live streams.
Yeah. And also, while I'm answering this, make sure you just switch the audio so you're listening to the Zoom call instead of the stream. Mute the stream. So if you want to do music live streams, what you really need to do, what's worked best for me is actually using two audio interfaces. So the Akai MPK Mini, you could be using any MIDI controller to figure out a live stream setup. I'm going to take your call. I'm going to answer your question off the air because the echo is killing me. But thank you for calling in, Juan. So if anybody wants to do live stream performances, the MIDI controller doesn't matter. You could use any MIDI controller. What's worked best for me, though, is using two audio interfaces, because when you're streaming, this really weird thing happens. You have your DAW, which is, pretty CPU intensive, and then you have OBS, which is also CPU intensive. And the DAW needs a audio device. It needs its own interface. And then you want to send that audio also to OBS. And the easiest way that I've done it is having those two interfaces be separate and actually running the audio with a physical cable from one audio interface, the Ableton or the DAW interface, to the live streaming interface. If you run that input into that interface, then you don't deal with any of the nonsense of routing audio in software or anything. There's plugins called Soundflower and stuff, but I've never found any luck with the plugin software stuff. But if you use two interfaces, then now you essentially have a mixer too, because you can adjust the level that's going into your stream. You can also run a mic into the stream audio interface so you can talk and they can hear your music. So that's my biggest tip for people who want to do live stream, music performances and music production live streams, is use a dual interface setup. If it's two Scarlett interfaces or two just cheap interfaces that you can use. One is the audio input for OBS. One is audio output for Ableton or your DAW of choice. But that's a good question because live streaming is a whole pain. Bishop, let's bring you in for a call. Andrew Duke, thank you for the comments on the new setup. I appreciate it. Peace. What's up, Sean Randall from Brooklyn? How are you? I'm glad you subbed to the 343 Labs channel. Thank you. Thank you. Bishop, you're on the show. Can you hear me? I'll give you a minute, Bishop. While
can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. You're on the stream. Yes. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi. I'm a beginner, total beginner, and
exciting.
I wanted to, totally. And I wanted to get something standalone that I could take out of the house, and plug a mic into, rhyme, make beats, learn. I have a home PC. I don't have a laptop.
Sure.
So I was looking at Machine Plus, but then now after a couple of weeks of reviews and stuff, I don't think that might be the best choice for a beginner. I did pick up the MPK Mini Mark III for my first controller at home. Just wanting some suggestions, ideas about a good entry point for beginner that I can do those things with in a coffee shop and then bring it home to my home PC. Because I don't want to buy a laptop for $1,600 plus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know you were looking at the Machina Plus, and that's pretty expensive, right? That's like $1,400 or something.
Well, it's in Canada, it's $1,900. So
oh, wow. Even more. I mean, at that point, you might as well just buy a laptop because you could do.
I know. Yeah. Right. And then I have a really good home PC.
Right.
So.
So you're really trying to avoid buying a laptop, basically.
Well, I'm flexible. Because like I want something that I can take out. So I was looking at the MPC One.
Sure.
And something that's, accessible, not too expensive, and a good entry point. And I just wanted some suggestions and ideas.
Yeah. The MPC One is pretty accessible, right? It is like $650 in the States. I don't know what that amounts to.
It's about $1,000 in Canada.
Yeah. It's the MPC One is probably the most accessible entry point for what you're looking for, especially since you mentioned a mic. So there's not a mic jack on here, but there are some 1/4-inch inputs, which of course you can get like XLR to 1/4-inch and run a dynamic mic into. I don't love the MPC workflow, but if you don't know really anything else, it's something you can learn, Also, they have the MPC. What you could do is actually, Akai has a free DAW called MPC Beats.
Right.
If you download that on your computer and you just start toying with it and you find that maybe you like the workflow or it's something you're willing to learn, it's basically the same exact workflow as the MPC One.
Right.
Other thing I'll say about this is you will need power. Like, it doesn't have a battery. So like coffee shop, make sure
whereas the Live does, right?
The Live does. Yeah, that's the Live's biggest advantage, I would say, is that it has a battery. Also, it doesn't have a mic input, and it's much cheaper, but let me grab this up here. The Novation circuit, like, it's pretty old at this point.
Yeah.
But it's still great. And it doesn't have a mic input. It's not going to do all the things that the MPC One can do. But in terms of like a small groove box, like the Novation circuit.
Like I used to have the old original EA1 Electribe.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was awesome because you just had to plug it into something and you can make beats instantly.
Right.
Although it wasn't portable in the same way, but yeah, I want to have hands-on. I don't want to just point and click.
For sure.
Only, yeah.
Yeah, the circuit is super hands-on. It doesn't have a screen. It's got a headphone jack. It's battery operated. It's got two synth channels, but then also a 4-part drum machine, which you can put your own samples onto. Right. It's super convenient. I know it's not the full, I would say the MPC line, like MPC One, MPC Live is like more of a full portable DAW experience. But I mean, look at the size difference between these two things in terms of portability.
So regarding laptops,
yeah,
is it essential that you have at least 16 gigs of RAM?
No. I would say like
as a beginner,
you'll be fine with 8 gigs of RAM. The thing you want to pay attention to though is your processor. Especially if you're looking at Windows machines, like budget Windows machines are always tough. You're going to get less performance out of those than you would a Mac. But your base processor should really be like an i7 for...
But if I'm just taking that out to the coffee shop, let's say, and just working on some simple rhythm tracks and, just real basic stuff, ideas, getting creative, but then taking it back to my home PC and then really working on it. would an 8 gig cheap PC be enough to use with a controller and let's say Ableton?
Yeah, the processor matters way more than the RAM. 8 gigabytes of RAM is totally fine.
So what's the good speed on the processor or a minimum spec? Like
you want like a minimum i7 processor.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say. Although I mean, I don't know.
Why is that? Why is that? What is it? Is it just because it just takes so long to get feedback from your inputs, you mean? Or is it just
think about
the effects?
What will happen, the performance issues that you'll run into will happen the more layers you have, and depending on what plugins you use and things like that. Some plugins draw more from the CPU.
Right.
But so like when you're using your MIDI controller with your computer or whatever, it's plugged in via USB, you press a note, it's supposed to instantly give you feedback. But that buffer time, you got to have a good processor for that buffer time to not get overloaded. Because once you start loading up with lots of plugins, lots of sounds, you won't be able to have a low buffer size. And then eventually you'll start getting into like latency, it won't line up. You'll get crackles in your sound. And at this point, I mean, I had an i5 MacBook Pro, which is okay, but that was a MacBook Pro, and you're not going to get the same performance out of a Windows machine that you would a i5 MacBook Pro.
Okay. And finally, have you been following Isla Instruments and their S2400?
I have not. Can you tell me more about it?
Apparently, it's the guy's been involved in synths for his whole life, and it's a passion project, and they're emulating an old, I forget the name of it now, but it's an old beat maker drum machine that was used in the 80s and 90s. And it's like super solid metal built, and it's just about to be released. And it looks like it's going to be awesome. And I just wanted to know if you knew anything.
That's dope. Will you link that in the chat so we can all take a look at it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, this guy's got some amazing energy, and it looks really promising. They made a ChordBot controller that also had this feature with keys and chords.
Nice.
To instantly have chords at your disposal with buttons. But yeah, I'll post a link, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for calling in. Yeah. I appreciate it. Let us know what you eventually choose.
I will. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Good call. Good call. Yeah, I love portability. I love being able to take things on the go. Stuff like MPC 1 is like the DAW experience on the go if you can get down with the MPC workflow. Stuff like the circuit is a little bit of a reduced form of that, but you can still do a lot with the circuit. I mean, I love my circuit, to be real. I also love my, you guys can't see it, obviously, but my model cycles. Andrew Duke in the chat had a really good question. Not able to call in because I listen at work, but if TAETRO could take a question from here, how does TAETRO make sure he gets his own music done while home versus being distracted by being home and social media? That's a great question. To not be distracted. So I work from home anyway. Pre-pandemic, I was working from home, going out very little for work. And it is a distraction. Basically, and I'm like an artist too. Like, I have like a really different kind of work situation where I don't really have to do anything from 9 to 5. I make my own schedule. So basically, I try to embrace that. When I feel like working, I work. When I don't feel like working, I don't. If I have real responsibilities and real deadlines, I'm disciplined enough so that I can take on those deadlines and not get too distracted. But those sometimes it's hard. So one thing that I did recently is, let me see if I can show you my iPhone home screen. It might be hard to see on screen. That's not my home screen. So basically what I have on my home screen, it's going to be tough for you all to see. Anyway, the apps that I have are YouTube, Gmail, like Pinterest, YouTube Studio, Medium for reading, Notion keeps me organized, Audible, and then Spotify. And also right in the dead center, if you can tell, it's actually a widget for my screen time. And that tells me exactly how much screen time I've had during the day and what apps I'm spending the most time on. You'll also notice that I don't have Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter on my home screen. And this is actually my only home screen page. So if I swipe right, it's just the app library. So basically I made it more difficult for myself to use those scrolling apps like Instagram and Twitter, because like doom scrolling is a real thing. Like just going on an app and scrolling infinitely, you can get sucked in really easily. So that's one tactic I took. I just took them off my home screen, got rid of home screen pages, so it's harder to get to them. So if I'm using them, which I use them all the time, of course, but when I do use them, it's a deliberate choice. So I go and I find them. Also, I'm big into like doing multiple things at the same time, like multitasking. In that, like if I'm editing a video, if I'm working on a project, I'm watching a TV show that I like in the background, or I'm watching a movie in the background, I can do that. I can kind of like flip back and forth and still be productive at the same time. But I also have this space. That's another thing. Like I have a dedicated workspace in my home that I can go to. There's no TV in here. Of course, I have my computer, but it's a dedicated workspace, creative space at the same time, where if I need to get away from all distractions, you know, if my friend Joe, who I live with, is like doing whatever, like, you know, I can close this door, I can be in here alone, and it's totally cool. But yeah, having a dedicated space is helpful, dedicated workspace that you can escape to, and then also setting yourself up for success in making it harder for you to get to the distractions, whether it's setting timers on your apps or timers on your Wi-Fi. If you want to shut your Wi-Fi off, you can't use the apps anyway. Something to think about. Yeah. Let's keep going. Let's go with Laurel. Or is that Yanni? All right. Good question, Andrew Duke. I appreciate you writing that in the chat. Appreciate the question. Oh, the Mutant Panda says, nice haircut. Thank you, Mutant Panda. I appreciate you. Laurel, I'm bringing you into the calls. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
What's your question?
Okay, I just started producing like last year, January.
Cool.
And
coming up on a full
I
year.
know,
Almost.
yeah, almost. And I think I'm getting pretty good.
Great.
But I get stuck when it comes to music theory.
Totally.
Like I run out of ideas every day.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, first thing I'll say is youtube.com/343labs. Tune in every Thursday and there's a music theory show. And the teacher there, Max Wild, he makes it super approachable. So you can tune into that live stream and you can ask questions and he will tell you a lot of music theory techniques, but he's using like Ableton Live. He's doing it in the context of music production. So I think one, you should tune into that show. Second is like, let me think about this. If you're running out of ideas, that means like you've exhausted all the bad ideas. I think at some point we have to stop judging ourselves and let ourselves get the bad ideas out, because you could either turn a bad idea into a good idea, or just the exercise of, you know, whatever's coming to you in that moment, getting it out, not judging yourself, but actually creating something, not stopping yourself and saying this isn't good enough. I think a lot of us have to get past that point, because it doesn't totally sound like a music theory problem, but it does sound like a just push through, no writer's block. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Another question. I was thinking about like stuff to get, because I still have a pretty basic setup.
Yeah. What do you have?
I have an Arturia Mini Lab MK2.
Nice.
I don't have okay, I use Ableton.
Great.
Pre-Sonos, was it speakers, and an MXL 990.
Nice. And do you use the 990 a lot? Like, are you recording with the microphone a lot?
Yeah.
If you are, you might think about potentially upgrading the microphone, because I know that's a pretty entry-level microphone. So maybe start looking around at some more robust. I'm not like I had MXL 990s when I first started, and if that's what you can get at an entry level, that's great. But I think you can significantly improve your quality by getting like a slightly higher tier microphone from like a Rode or from Blue, which is the mic that I'm using. Also, do you have an audio interface? I know you said you're using speakers.
Yeah, audio interface.
And you're using that mic.
Behringer.
Yeah, nice.
Euphoria UMC 22.
Cool. And like, are you feeling limited by any of that gear that you have? Like, is any of it causing you trouble? Is any of it making things hard for you? Like, what's hard for you right now? Like, what's in your way at the moment?
Recording vocals, getting them to sound nice, and well,
there it is.
what else?
I mean, like that right away, we talked about the mic, like potentially upgrading the microphone, but also like some room treatment. You might want to invest in some room treatment if you don't have any. Just some basic acoustic foam, like set up a place that you're going to record vocals all the time. I don't care if it's a closet, if it's your bedroom, whatever. Get some acoustic foam and like treat that space, because even if you have a cheaper microphone, if you treat your space, you will get your vocals to sound pretty good. You can make audio recording sound pretty good by treating a room with most microphones.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, think about that investment and then call back in a few weeks or whatever and let us know how it's been going.
Okay.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Drop in the Zoom link again in chat, my friends, because somebody asked. Thank you so much for calling in, folks. Amir says, 343 Labs is sick. I've tuned in twice since your last week's call. Oh, great. I'm glad to know. Yeah, the shows are really fun. Suppy Bros says, you showing your phone home screen was eye-opening. Not going to lie, I have way too many distractions. It can be a trap. And that's kind of like a recent thing for me, is like clearing up the home screen. Putting apps that I use for productivity and like reading and listening on the home screen, and just making it harder to get to the doom scrolling apps, I suppose. What's up, Scree Crew? I think that's how I say that. Hello. How to not complicate your music? I think that's a question, and that's a good question, actually. A lot of beginners, like when you first start making music, a lot of times what happens is you just start stacking tracks. Like you start with your drums, then you get your chords, then you add your lead, then you add your bass, then you add another pad on top of that, and then you add another lead on top of that, and then you just like keep going. Like limit yourself. Say like, I'm only going to use 8 main layers, and all those layers have to have a purpose. Maybe only have like 5 main layers. Like as we get into this month of Beattober and we start doing the daily beat making and I show you guys my beats, you're going to see that there's not that many layers to them. That's the limitations of the challenge. Not specifically, but like if I have to make a beat video every single day, they're going to be relatively simple. And B, like the human brain can only focus and listen to so many things at one time. So it's not worth just adding in layers and layers and layers. I think we get caught up in like, okay, this track isn't done. Let's keep adding. But if those additions don't have a real purpose, like if you're not listening to your track saying like, oh yeah, it does need something floating on top. It does need something in the higher register. If you don't have that thought, that instinct, and you're just like, let me just add something. Let me just add something else. Then there's no point in adding something. You're just adding it for the sake of, keeping yourself busy and not having to be finished. So try not to avoid being finished. We have a very important segment to transition into. Every call-in show, we bring on a guest from the community for a segment that we like to call Samuel Says. Samuel, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to my segment, Samuel Says.
How's it going, man? How are you?
It's good. I'm getting better at e-learning. It's a very different thing than normal school.
For sure.
Like, really, really different.
But it shows you what's possible. Like it shows you like you can still connect with your classmates. You can still learn. Like think about all the time. I know when I went to school, like all the time I spent on a bus, in the hallway, going from one place to another, at lunch. Like imagine if I had all that time during school to like do other things. So now if you're like at home and you just call into your class, and when the class is done and you're at home, I think a lot of people who are virtual learning, especially young people like you, Samuel, should be taking advantage of that time and doing something that you really want to do with it. Because we all know that school is sometimes just going through the motions, and it's not the thing that we want to do in 5 years and 10 years. So now what are you doing with that combined time of like bus, hallway, lunch, social time, transitions? Like if you take all that time and calculate it, it's like hours at the end of the week. So take those hours and do something fun and amazing that you want to do with it.
Sure.
What you got for me today?
Okay, so I have a few questions and one very exciting thing.
Let's hear it. Huge tease.
So I recently downloaded Serum Demo, and I think I found a workaround, but I'm not sure. I didn't try it yet.
What are you, a hacker? Trying to hack the demo?
No. It's just a workaround.
What do you mean a workaround?
So basically, you just record one, like, whatever wave you made, and then you freeze and flatten the track and then put it into Simpler.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a really smart idea. Yeah, I mean, it's not quite a wavetable. What version of Ableton do you use? I forget. Light?
Light.
Yeah. I mean, because Ableton even has its own wavetable synth. But you can fake it that way for sure. Like, take that sample and just sample it. I mean, you could do that with really any synth. It's not going to be the same. But just like recording. Also, something for you to look up, because I know how I'm getting to know how your brain works, is I can't remember. Like multi-sample recording. So if you really want to like have a workaround like that, there's multi-sample recording where you're not just taking one note and dropping it into like Simpler or Sampler, but you can actually like record multiple notes from an instrument. That way, like imagine that every note had its own sample, so it would sound high quality. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's what I was trying to ask you like 5 streams ago. So remember when we were talking about the drum rack and how the drum rack is basically MIDI notes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what I was trying to ask.
Yeah, so like there is a way to do that not with drum rack. There's a multi-sample. You can multi-sample things so that say like you want to sample C from that synth that you really like, C1, okay? And then you're also going to sample D1, E1, F1. You're going to sample all those notes individually so that when you play those notes, it's not transposing a single sample. There's a sample for every single note. That's how like really great software instruments or sampled software instruments are made. They're sampling every single note of an instrument. They're not taking one sample and manipulating it to make all the pitches. So that's something you can look into. I don't know too much about how to execute that because I don't do it that much. But if you really wanted to go deep with it, it is possible.
Okay. Next question. So the Azure for All driver, does that only apply to audio interfaces, or like I don't really understand what it is.
I don't really understand what it is either. All I know is that if you're using Windows, you got to use it for one reason or another. I think, I believe, I mean, because I used to be a Windows user. So ACO for All, I think enables you to have like a lower latency, or at least gives you more control over the buffer size. It's not necessarily only for audio interfaces because, you know, if I just had my MIDI keyboard and my laptop, I could be making beats. I would still need a low buffer size. So you could use ACO for All as your sound driver. It's basic. Okay, so yeah. Diego Mendoza in the chat says ACO for All is a built-in interface. I think that's a pretty good way to describe it. But then it is also used with your interface because say you're recording vocals, you obviously want to hear them in real time and monitor them in real time. You don't want there to be a delay. ACO for All, from what I remember, helps that. And this is another reason I transitioned to Mac, because you don't have to deal with any of that.
Yeah, sure.
One day.
Okay.
Something really exciting, I thought.
Yeah, later on.
Oh.
So I found on Amazon, I was thinking, so audio interfaces, at least in my point of view, like the Focusrite Scarlett 1i2 is the same price as the launch key.
You mean
like,
2i2?
Just why?
Why? Because the value that it brings. I mean, the launch key is a great MIDI controller. A Focusrite Scarlett interface is something you'll have for like ever. Like I've had my Scarlett interface for a long time. Not getting old anytime soon. It can travel. It's rugged. Build quality is great. Can't really compare. They're two different things. Why are they the same price? I don't know. It's the market, bruh.
Yeah. So basically, I found a mixer on Amazon that has a USB out, and it's cheaper than buying an audio interface.
Yeah, but does it function as an audio interface?
Yeah.
You're sure?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, is it like a Behringer mixer?
No, I don't know. I don't remember its name, but
yeah, I mean, like that's the weird, confusing thing. Like, if a mixer has USB and you can plug it into your computer and you can use it for multiple inputs and outputs, then it's an interface. Like, it's basically the same thing. A mixer and an interface, if they both connect to your computer, they're both the same thing. They just look different. You know what I mean? They have inputs, outputs. You can control those inputs and outputs, the volume. You can route audio from your DAW to them. Essentially the same thing. Something to think about, though, is like, what kind of speakers do you have, or are you going to want someday? Meaning, like, if you want to have audio, like monitors that have TRS in, which are these balanced cables, you don't want to buy something that doesn't have TRS out. How many inputs do you need? How many outputs do you need? Does it have a headphone jack? Do you need an adapter? All things to think about. But you can definitely save money on interfaces and not buy a full $100 interface if you're on a budget. I'm super sympathetic to folks, especially young people on a budget, trying to make the most happen for the least amount of money.
Yeah. Now the exciting news.
Let's hear it.
So
Drum roll?
I was in German class, and then one of my classmates shared something with the class that he's getting into music production.
Oh, nice.
So his name's Chris. He's probably in the waiting room now.
Oh, really? I don't have a Chris in the waiting room, but tell Chris to call in.
Okay. Well, at least I found a buddy now.
You found a buddy. That's great. So now you guys got to make tons of music together. You guys got to share what you each are learning together, and you have to get Chris to subscribe to the channel.
Sure.
Also, are you going to be doing Beattober with me is my question.
Yeah, I'm going to try my hardest.
Do it. Like, even
Probably
like,
going to release.
even
like
if you can't do it daily, yeah, what works for you?
Yeah, maybe like one every 2 days.
If you can do it, challenge yourself to it. And then share
I'll
it.
try my hardest.
Yeah. Do what you can, but push yourself. Don't just do what's easy. Do what you can, but it still has to be a challenge, you know? Because it's easier just to do like one beat a week, but you could probably do more than one beat a week. You know what I mean? If you time manage correctly. And that's the whole point of this challenge is it's like, what can you, like if you're doing a daily beat with me, like I'm doing it daily, like what can you actually accomplish by doing it daily while doing the rest of your life? Like I'm still going to do the rest of my life. My life is not on hold because of Beattober. So I'm going to do exactly what's possible every single day. And that's different than saying like, oh, I have a month to make one beat, you know, like the parameters change. So within these limitations, what can people do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And look out for those Easter eggs in the Beattober video. I figure you'd be one of the first people to find them.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Go look that. Look.
So congrats
Video.
on finding your new music production friend. I hope that I can talk to them at some point in the future, and good luck. I can't wait for the next segment of Samuel Says in future episodes.
Can't wait for it either.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in.
Great segment today. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one. One thing I haven't talked about, guys, is that I got this. This is fun. It's exciting. This is Lumi, Roldy's new keyboard. Very fun. It lights up, as you can see. It's trying to Bluetooth connect at the moment. All the keys light up. I actually have two of them because you can link them together, just like all the other Rolly blocks. And I've been working with it, trying to put together a video review that'll be up in a couple weeks. I'll be making beats with it too, and that's really exciting. So get ready for content with Lumi. Somebody said, how does Beattober work exactly? It's very, very simple. It's a daily beat challenge in the month of October. I'm challenging everybody to make daily beats with me, post a beat video a day, so up to 1 minute. I'm not asking for anything crazy. And then use the hashtag Beattober. Then I'll do a live stream every Friday where I will bring on community beats and showcase them, react to them. I'll also be breaking down my beats and arranging my beats. And then I'll be recapping my beats every Sunday as well. So it's a month beat challenge. And I did it last year, and it really, 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 it really transformed the way I make music, making beats 31 days. Caesar C says, do you have some advice for us that are signing for the first time with labels? Yes, my advice is that unless you have a huge audience and unless you have a real reason to sign with a label, don't sign with a label. Build up your own audience. Be independent. Signing with a label should no longer be the goal. Your goal should be building up something for yourself and then making something that's worth enough for a label to approach you and said, hey, we would like to get involved with this. Here's a bunch of money for you to sign to our label and we'll help you with some of the things that you're doing on your own so you can just focus on the music. Unless you're at that point, you should not even be thinking about a label. The music man Neil Love from Bangladesh. Thank you, Neil. Welcome. Yoda Fishing Carp says, how do I call? Here is the link. I got a couple people waiting, so I'm going to keep taking calls. Amir, let's get it. Bring in Amir to the chat. Lorenzo says, I think labels are becoming old school. Yeah, kind of. I mean, obviously it's how the music industry still operates, so they're not obsolete, but like you see a lot of people getting kind of screwed by their labels. So think about that. You're an independent artist. Hello, Amir. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, TAETRO? Huge fan, man. It's amazing to be on a call with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in.
That's so awesome. Okay, I had a few questions, and so I know you're limited on time, so I'm going to kind of rapid fire if it's cool with you.
That's cool with me.
Okay, cool. So the first question is, so I got a MIDI keyboard, the MPK. I have home studio monitors. I got monitor headphones. I have a Blue Yeti, pop filter, everything. What am I missing? Like, what's next in my? Because so I got a DAW that I'm getting comfortable with. I got some like lecture material. I'm going through, allocating time daily, almost trying to make it beat like every single day, or if I get stuck, like literally wake up the next day and be like, we're gonna finish, like you're gonna hammer something out of this.
Yes.
So what's my next step? How am I?
What are you feeling limited in right now? Like, what do you like? You sit down at your computer, you start making something. What are you like? Dang, I wish I had this, or I can't do this because I don't have this. Like, is there anything like that happening to you?
I mean, it just right now it just feels like because I don't have I haven't gone to school for music like yourself, and I haven't really had any proper training, so it just kind of feels like what I'm doing is a little bit random. Like, it sounds nice, I listen to it, I enjoy it, I share it, and like other people are like, good stuff, man.
Sure.
But I don't really feel that it's like, it's like I don't
you need a little bit of structure. Yeah, you need a little bit of structure, and you need a little bit of you need some type of feedback. So you need somebody letting you know you're making progress and things like that.
Like genuine, proper progress, not like my mom's like
mom says, "Oh yeah, beats are great," of course, because that's what your mom's supposed to say. Theory Thursday. I mentioned this before, but there's the show every Thursday on 343 Labs YouTube channel, youtube.com/343labs. That's a music theory thing. We have feedback sessions coming up on Sunday. So that's with an Ableton Certified Trainer. So if you want real feedback, and you can tune into that show on Sunday on youtube.com/343labs, you should totally tune in and submit the music, because Atropolis will give you some real hard feedback, and that happens monthly. So if you're able to like build up some tracks, you get a track that you really like that you worked on the past month and you submit to that show, you'll get some real honest points and some feedback. Think about something like a Skillshare as well. Like you can get you can go back and find a bunch of my videos that have Skillshare links, but you can get a 2-month free trial. So I'm not saying you have to pay for it or anything, but just like that 2-month free trial, like if you use 2 months and you take an Ableton, like a music theory for Ableton Live users course, like you can get that done in the 2 free months and like really take something from it. But like if you are, what should I say? It doesn't sound like you need anything. You started the question by saying like, I've got this, I've got that, like, what do I need? And you didn't say like, well, I want to write grand piano pieces and my keyboard's not long enough. Or you didn't say like, well, I want to record rap vocals and my mic's not good enough. So like, you're in a really good spot. If you can say, honestly, like the spot that you're in is you need structure and you need like material to learn from and progress from. So remember this moment, because like if you can keep approaching your needs as like a place of abundance instead of a place of like lacking. Like if you don't think that you're lacking anything and you feel like you have everything you need, then you know what you need. You need to sit down, take the time, be deliberate, make a regimen, a schedule for yourself. Like I'm gonna, because it's like it's hard with music production. It's not the same as like learning piano or learning guitar, where it's like you can buy a book and you can spend an hour every day learning the exercises. Like some stuff exists like that for music production, but not in the same way as like normal instrument pedagogy. You know what I mean? So I feel you. But something structured. I mean, 343 Labs obviously has classes, so I would encourage you to check out 343labs.com to check that out, because that is the regimented schedule and stuff that you need. And if you think about like, okay, you were ready to buy some gear. If I told you to get some gear, why not spend that money on education? You know?
Yeah, of course.
It's something to think about. But I think you're in a really good spot in terms of like, you're ready to learn. Like gear doesn't matter. It's time. If you think you need the structure and the discipline of a class or a mentor or a teacher, I would highly encourage you. And there's free routes to do that, which we talked about, like free trials and then tuning into those streams that we talked about. And then there's paid routes, which is like taking a full on class. So I would put your investment there, because you don't need anything else. Like you don't need gear. Like what is gear if you need to work on your skills, you know, if you need to hone the musical idea part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Okay. That's perfect. That's, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay. My next quick question is, so even just from like watching your videos or even like listening to you talk, you kind of either refer to, or you kind of implicitly imply this kind of concept of like instinct, like, like something in you calls out for you to do this next step, either musically or action wise. And so I've seen it like really refined in your work. Like like even when you do like a whole like struggling video, like of you struggling to put something together, it's still like you can just see it kind of like clicking through you. And so I'm kind of, so I guess I can see a little bit of that in myself, but I'm like, it's not really there the way I would like it to be. So how do you go about honing this kind of instinct, this kind of, you know, like that ability within yourself where that just kind of like flows through you and you kind of just...
That's a tough question, but I'll try. I don't know. It's we're talking right now, right? And we're both speaking English, and I'm pretty confident that like a conversation is an improvisation, right? Like I didn't know what you were going to ask, but I'm still attempting to answer it, and I'm still able to use words in the English language to answer you. And we're able to converse. I don't know what you'll say next, but I'll hear it, and then I'll come up with a response. And that's what music is. You know, like I, from the age of 0, have been hearing the English language and have been learning the English language and learn to speak and learn to write. And that ties back into music. Like I use this analogy all the time of like language and music. Like it's kind of what we just talked about. It's like once you learn to play enough music, and once you learn the system behind music, you know, this is a lot like a language. Once I've learned a bunch of new words, or once I've read a lot of books and I've seen how other people speak, I can sort of combine all the ways that people speak, all the ways that people write, and all the ways that people communicate into one new thing that becomes the way I communicate. Music is the same thing. So if you learn to play lots of music, you learn a lot about the system behind different types of music. And that has to do with like, okay, pop music, chords are like this. Jazz music, chords are like that. Then I can figure out like how are other artists creating melodies? What sounds are other artists using? Like sound design, like having a broad vocabulary in that sense will completely... like it changes your fluency. You become more fluent in music. And when you become more fluent in music, it's just like a language. When we start having a conversation, we can have a conversation. I don't get stuck trying to think about what words I have to use. I just talk. So with music, the more fluent you are, the more you can just talk. You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah. Yeah. As someone who English is a second language to them. So I
which I have like really so much respect. Like I used to work with lots of people that spoke two languages, and like I can't even wrap my head around it. And my friend and roommate Joe is learning Korean right now, and I cannot wrap my head around learning another language, let alone like you, like be fluent in two languages. So if your brain is already operating at a higher level than mine, is what I'm saying. So like you have that capacity to learn that fluency. But if you think back to remembering those language or learning those languages, think about what it took to learn those languages, a second language especially.
Right. Yeah. Okay, amazing. So that's in terms of the two questions I had. The last one, I don't think I'm even qualified to be asking the question, but in the concept of like, let's say, if you're making music while you're sitting at a station or while you have keys with you or whatever, that's one thing. But if I've seen people create music on paper, and I don't mean like write notes like on a sheet, like piano notes or whatever. I mean, like they sit down, I don't really understand it, but they sit down, they like doodle, they do their stuff, and then they come to a machine and they have some kind of, like they can translate that into something on the computer. So I'm wondering like what that is, if you have any ideas.
I don't know what that is specifically. I also come from a world of like, when I studied music, like I was studying music composition, like straight up writing transcripts, and I had one assignment once where I had to completely rewrite like a page of score with like musical notes and some stuff like that. And I know that's not like exactly what you're talking about, but that's when I knew that writing music like that, like on manuscript paper with pencil and paper, did not make sense for my brain. It just did not work for me. That's not how I write music. I write music using a keyboard or my laptop, or a guitar or whatever. I learn it. I write it by playing it and messing with sounds. So that's one thing. Like you might see people do other things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. But if people are just sort of like if what you're saying, like doodling or like making pictures or drawing, I guess it's a way for their brain to work and to visualize music. I mean, I can think of ways. I don't write like this. I don't approach writing processes this way. But if you have an idea for the structure of a track, or like forget about creating something out of thin air. If you have a track that you really like, and I told you I want you to draw me a picture and a line of the structure of that track, of like the momentum of that track. Okay, like it starts with a really quiet verse, and then the drums hit, but then a pre-chorus comes and the drums jump back out, and then the chorus comes and it's super loud and it's amazing. Like I'm drawing a line with my finger there. But if you had to draw that out, that visualization would actually be really helpful when you went to approach creating your own music and you said, I want to emulate this structure or this style. So that's one way I can think about, like a visualization would be really helpful for you in your writing process and understanding the music that you're hearing. Because I think that's what people are doing. The people you describe is like, you have something in your head. You don't write out notes on a manuscript. You don't write out a MIDI piano roll or whatever it is. You kind of draw your idea because that's the way your brain is working around it. And then you translate that visual into something in your DAW. I think that's the best way I can describe it.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you
That's
so
all
much.
The questions I had for you today.
Great call. I hope you do it again in the future.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. I think we got one more caller today. Thank you so much for everybody who has called in. I'll take this last call with Kevin, then the lines are going to be closed. And then I will dip into the chat, answer a few chat questions, and then we'll be off today. But this has been a great show so far. So thank you all so much for tuning it in. I appreciate it. I burp all the time on this stream. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for calling in.
I'm sure, no problem.
What's your question
I wanted
today?
to ask you one. I'm from India, so it's late. It's like 11:30.
Oh, thanks for calling in late.
No problem. I just wanted to ask, which should I buy? I have a DAW now. I have a laptop. I have a DAW. What should I buy next?
I have a laptop. I have a DAW. What do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need? Well, like, I think a controller would be the next logical choice.
Yeah, like a MIDI controller. Which do you prefer? Like I have Ableton Live.
You should get the launch key. Do you want something big or do you want something small?
Small, because I can't create in an apartment. Like now it's all
Sure.
complete, so I can't.
Launch Key Mini is the way to go, man. It's the best Ableton like mini keyboard controller that you can get. It's got pads, keys, knobs. It's got a record button. You can launch clips.
I heard Yeah. I heard about, like, I was watching your YouTube videos, like Archery Mini Lab 2 Mark 2.
Yep, that's a great one as well.
I was preferring that one because I like the style of that, because it's white and it looks cool enough.
If having
Or-
if having a dope looking controller is going to motivate you to sit down and make music, and that's important to you, I think you will be totally fine with the Mini Lab Mark II, and I think that you should get it. It's got Ableton Control in it anyway. It's a great MIDI controller, and if it's the thing about like you just prefer the way it looks and that makes you excited about making music, I think that that's an important decision to make, and you should get it.
Sure.
It's totally
I tried
fine to make a
because-
decision based on that.
Yeah, because now I'm in 12th, in grade 12, so I have to look on studies and this one because I like music. I listen to music and I just start playing because it's just interesting to play.
Yeah,
So I just love it. So
that's great. And hold on to that, like, because it's going to become hard as you learn more and more. It'll become difficult, but as long as you always love music and making music and trying to figure out how to understand it, as long as you have that passion, you'll continue to have it. You'll never quit.
I like this music because it's fun to play, because you can easily transfer that. Your emotions, like your emotions, all could feel happy when you're playing music.
It's an outlet.
It's just too amazing to do. Yeah, it's just yeah.
Completely agree, and you should capitalize on that passion, and it'll be good for you in your life, whether you want to make it a career or whether it just becomes like a thing that you do, that you love doing, that you come home at the end of work and you just want to play some music and it brings you joy and it distracts you from other things happening in the world. Like, that's the dream.
Just love it to do it. That's like amazing, right? You can't do anything else. Like, that's just a part of your heart.
It's part of your heart. You're 100% right. And I'm glad that you called in. I'm glad you were the final call, because that was a perfect way to kind of end the show today.
And what should I buy next after that? Because I like to sing also.
You should forget about buying things for a while. You should think about...
How should I record a music? Like, I want to sing, I want to do a covers. So
well
what
then,
should I do with that?
in that case, you will need an audio interface and a microphone. Or a USB microphone, which...
But that...
Go ahead.
They say, like, it's not like you can't perfectly do the gains all from the... But if you have a XLR cable, you can do with the audio interface, you can do the perfect gains, knobs, all techniques with that.
Yeah, but you can do that with a USB microphone as well. An XLR microphone is probably better quality. An XLR microphone with an audio interface is probably the best quality. If you had to do it with a USB microphone, you totally could. And at a certain budget, you won't really be able to tell the difference.
Hey, thank you. It was just too good to talk with you. I was wanted to ask this question because you're all like that side of the country and I can't ask anyway.
Right. I hear you. Thanks for calling in. Those are all important questions.
No
and
problem,
I'm
no
inspired by your passion today. So thank you for inspiring me.
No problem. I just like your doing things like YouTube. It's just fun to watch. Like, you can just get eager to do something with that after watching your YouTube videos.
I'm the same, like watching YouTube, I'm the same way. I watch people and then I get inspired and pumped and motivated to do stuff.
I was just watching Sanjay C, you know, right? The YouTube with Sanjay C.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, then I was like with you two, and just saw both of you like just so great to watch. I just like to watch. Both of you create like super dope music. I just like it. I can't do anything else.
Thank you. Yeah, he is really dope. And if you haven't, you should check out. He was on TAETRO Talks a few weeks back, so you can find an interview with me and Sanjay C talking about music and stuff. So you might really like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin, for calling in.
No problem.
Have a good one. Great show today, folks. I really appreciate that. Any final questions, real quick here, we can answer in the chat. Adiata asks about a few free synth plugins. I don't know any, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I am spoiled in the way that I get lots of plugins for free, so I don't know about many free ones. Although, I just downloaded Halftime, which is like this plugin that a bunch of beat makers use. I never knew Halftime was $12. Like I always was like, all right, whatever. It's like $50. I can just warp stuff and get the same effect. No, that plugin is $12. Like, why would I not spend $12? That's true. That's true. Lorenzo says, been stuck while making beats many times before. I followed your advice of just letting it flow. Game changer. May not be the best all the time, but you're inevitably going to get better over time. Lorenzo has summed it up right there. That's perfect advice. Yes. Parrish says, I have a good PC at home. I want an entry-level laptop for making beats at the library. You think this would do that? Oh, I missed it because he posted something. Yeah, processor, RAM, then hard drive is what you want to look at. You want an i7 processor, if possible. 8 gigabytes of RAM is what you want. I'm excited. Thank you all so much for tuning in. There are new classes starting at 343 Labs very soon. A Logic class is happening. So if you're not an Ableton head and you want to learn some Logic, you can check that out. We also have an open house in Berlin. For those of you who are in Berlin, you can check that out. And do me a favor and just go to 343labs.com today and just take a look at the course selection, because even if you're not ready to take a course right now, you might be in the future. And we have classes starting all the time. So if you go to 343labs.com right now and just take a look at all the different classes that are available, they're available online and in Berlin and some in New York. Just take a look, browse the course catalog, and maybe set your sights. Like maybe one day you'll take a class or something and you have it in the back of your mind. And you'd be like, oh yeah, 343 Labs. And then when there's a sale or something like that, you can sign up, leave your email there, and you'll get notified when there's sales. You can take advantage of those, especially with the holiday season coming up. For those of you that might ask for gifts for the holidays, one theme that we ran into today is it's like not all about gear. Like get yourself your DAW, your laptop, maybe a MIDI controller, and then learn how to make music. Like that's the next step. You can't just keep adding on gear. It's not going to make your music better. Education, on the other hand, will. Hi from Russia. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Tips for 30 days worth of beats and videos. Yes. Okay. As we close out today's stream, I'll remind you all, Jason, class sizes are actually pretty tight. So you get really close with the instructor and the other students in the class. It's like small community classes. Adam Cox, I can't troubleshoot that issue for you. I'm sorry. You got to make sure both your outputs are set. I don't know. I can't do tech support stuff on this stream. Final thing, Nick Lovin asks, tips for 30 days worth of beats and videos. So Beattober is coming up. It's a daily beat challenge that I'm doing on Instagram. 1 minute beat videos every single day. Use the hashtag Beattober. I'll feature you in a stream and I'll feature you on videos as I recap them if your beats are dope. And my tips for that are keep it simple. Do what you can during your normal day. Like make a schedule for it. Like I'm going to make my beat every day at 8 a.m. before my day starts or something like that. Don't sleep on the visuals, but don't think you have to have too much. Like even if you just set up your phone in one spot, boom, like make your beat play. You don't have to play the whole beat in the video. You could just play one synth line of the beat, or you could just play the kick and the snare and everything else is already recorded and happening. Keep it simple. Don't think too much about it. Use the hashtag Beattober. Get ready for a big drop on Friday. I'm so excited to share what I've been working on. There's stuff, there's hints of it around, but it will happen on Fridays. Control Freak Friday streams, but also this Friday, big drop happening. Stay tuned and get ready for it. And if some days you're feeling motivated and you can make 2 beats in one day, then you can take a day off in the future. So if you're feeling super motivated on a Monday, you make 2 beats, you could take Tuesday off because Tuesday's beat's already made. It's not like you have to make a beat every single day. Yeah, Brian, Logic class coming soon. So make sure you go to 343labs.com and check that out because that's starting very soon, I'm pretty sure. Yep. That's the way to go. Last question, Jay Scholes asks, how do you deal with criticism in music, meaning not to have influence change your style? Well, where's the criticism coming from? Is it coming from somebody who has something knowledgeable to say? Like, is there something I'm doing technically wrong? Like maybe they say, oh, your low end is trash, or your mix sounds really muddy. If that's coming from somebody who knows a thing or two about mixing, great. I will take that advice and I will try to improve my skills in that way. In terms of like comments and stuff on Instagram or on YouTube, like I get comments all the time about like my stuff being trash and bad, but it's coming from a total stranger who isn't actually making a critique. They're just kind of like, they're either sad or they're mad about something, or the life is not going the way they planned or the way they want. And they're sort of putting that off on somebody random on the internet. And I don't take that personally. And I also don't take it as criticism, and I won't let it offend me. And I definitely don't let it dictate my work. There is also like the hive mind of the internet, right? Like if I put something out and a lot of people who are maybe not super educated in something, but if a lot of people say the same thing, maybe they're not saying it the right way. Maybe it's not articulated super technically, but if I see a lot of the same comment, then I also start to think about it, because I see like, okay, this is kind of a reoccurring theme, even though it's not coming from an expert. So it's something worth diving into. Jason, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but thank you for asking. I'm going to drop a link to the school right now in the chat. It's also in the description, so check that out. I know that there's payment plans and stuff like that. Mr. Big Doodles, what do you think the average age of your viewers is? I think it's between 18 to 35. I know that's a huge range, but the last time I looked at the analytics, I think that's the bulk. Or maybe it's 18 through 24. I'm not really sure. But we're running a little over time here, folks, and this has been another episode of TAETRO Talks. I said that I would announce the guests for next week in the stream, and I will. Our guest next week will be Neon Vines. If you don't know Neon Vines, go on YouTube and type in Neon Vines. You will find her performances. She's an epic Ableton Live performer. Uses Rolly, Seaboard stuff, and Ableton Live, and launch pads, and all kinds of cool gear. If you like my stuff, you will like Neon Vines stuff. So check out Neon Vines. Get ready for next week's show, because we'll be doing an interview with her, and she's super dope. And then get ready for a live stream tomorrow on youtube.com/343labs, where Lewis Beck, Beatport charting producer Lewis Beck, will be talking about the hybrid home studio. And you should totally tune in. Theory Thursday on Thursdays, Production Basics on Fridays, Cellways Techno Saturdays on Saturday, and feedback sessions on Sunday. Submit your music to the feedback sessions. youtube.com/343labs. Go over there right now after the stream and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you can tune in to the daily live music production streams. Guys, free. It's basically a free daily 1-hour class in music production. All things you need to know, all things that people asked about can be answered in those live streams. Check it out, youtube.com/343labs. Thank you all so much for watching and tuning in. The calls were really great today. The questions in the chat were really great. I appreciate you all. Stay tuned for a video drop on Friday. If you haven't yet, check out the Beattober video that dropped today. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.